In 1982, Koyaanisqatsi was released. Directed by Godfrey Reggio, Koyaanisqatsi, or Life Out of Balance, is essentially an 86-minute-long silent film containing no spoken words or voiceover narration, but instead letting the images on screen speak for themselves. Through achingly gorgeous, hypnotic cinematography, frequent changes between slow and fast motion, and some very clever editing, all while set to an iconic score by Philip Glass, which you most likely remember from the Dr. Manhattan sequence in Zack Snyder's The Watchmen, or randomly playing on the radio in GTA 4, Koyaanisqatsi argues that technology has severed our connection from the natural world, from each other, and that we are now lost. All these sights and sounds are designed to make an audience feel a certain way, and its contemplative pacing allows enough space for them to ask questions. How do you find meaning in a city that exists for monolithic buildings but not for the people? Are we the consumers or the products to be consumed? Have we queued up our children for the same fate? Did the march of progress contain the seeds of our own destruction? For those with the patience to watch it, Koyaanisqatsi is an unforgettable experience whose passionate, wordless declaration may be even more relevant today than it was in 1982. Tetris Effect is a puzzle game released in 2018 that has you fit a bunch of blocks together against a backdrop of flashing lights and pulse-pounding electronic music. It's a silly, surface-level experience that proves video games can never be art and are unworthy of deeper analysis. Of course, I don't actually believe all that. Quite the opposite, in fact, as I think Tetris Effect is an astounding artistic achievement. If Super Metroid is the Citizen Kane of games, like I argued in a previous video, then Tetris Effect is easily its Koyaanisqatsi, combining visuals, music, and gameplay in such a hypnotic way that the effect is downright visceral on the player. Moreover, Tetris Effect is also a wonder of narrative design. Not just about fitting blocks together, but using those same visuals, music, and gameplay to tell a story about, well, everything. The planet, our place in it, where we've been, where we're headed. But it's also the story of the man behind the game, Tetsuya Mizuguchi, and his decades-long journey to craft an experience powerful enough to reach out, touch the player, and possibly change them. Yay! Mizuguchi, or Miz to his colleagues and how I'll refer to him throughout this video, started his career at Sega's AM3 arcade division when he literally walked into the office, asked for a job, and got hired. Originally a literature major, Miz went into games because he saw the early potential for virtual reality as a method to deliver new and unique emotional experiences, though the technology was nowhere close to matching his ambitions at the time. See, in 1994 at a street festival in Zurich, Switzerland, Miz first became aware of the power music could affect on people. No word on if that was the same festival the Techno Viking was at, but one can only hope. In the crush of the crowd, Miz was struck by how everyone moved in unison, ebbing and flowing as one, individuals coalescing into a whole much greater than themselves, the music feeling as much a part of them as their own bodies. Mizuguchi knew then that somehow he wanted to recreate this feeling, called synesthesia, through video games. He wanted players to hear the colors and see the sounds while playing his games, though it would take years before Miz would figure out how. At Sega, Miz produced titles like Sega Rally 2 and the adorably charming Space Channel 5, starring then quasi-mascot Ulala and Michael Jackson, and even earned special thanks in the credits for his scenario work on Sega's most important and expensive game at the time, Shenmue, also known as Yakuza, but boring.
I'm trying to find some sailors.
I see lots of them in the evenings.
However, it wasn't until Miz produced Rez for the Sega Dreamcast that he first began to grasp how to induce synesthesia in the player. Rez is an on-rails shooter that answers the question, what if the Lawnmower Man were a music video, taking place entirely inside a digital world swarming with viruses and subroutines as you try to heal an AI named Eden. It's also got hardcore SNES Star Fox vibes, and I'm here for that. The game's unique hook is that the player's actions accentuate the pulse-pounding soundtrack, which grows ever faster as the level progresses. The first several levels feature pretty standard gameplay and can even feel a little underwhelming despite the great music and strange visuals. But it's the the last level in particular where Rez makes its mark, as you're taken on a guided tour through the evolution of life as we know it, starting at the bottom of the ocean to first crawling onto land, then spreading across the globe, and finally into space itself, all while enemies chant "Fear is the mind killer," before ending with a boss fight against the corrupted AI Eden, as she sends messages like "Don't come closer," "Aren't you scared?" and "Save me." Then, as you free her mind from its prison, images of rolling forests and endless blue skies flash on screen, which maybe remember all this because it's gonna come back later on. Honestly, it's this last level that makes Rez what it is, and well worth taking the journey for. Undoubtedly unique for its time and a critical darling, Rez proved to be so unique that people didn't know what to make of it, resulting in low sales numbers. It's a decent game, but doesn't have enough meat on the bone to feel like anything more than a test run for Miz's next game and his first true breakthrough. In 2004, Lumines Puzzle Fusion was released for Sony's new PlayStation Portable and was an instant success. Originally, Miz wanted to make a Tetris game set to a dynamic soundtrack, but Electronic Arts owned the rights to Tetris at the time and made it prohibitively expensive to license. So Miz made his own damn Tetris and the world was better off for it. Lumines tasks players with matching 2x2 square blocks of the same color before they can be swept away by the metronomic timeline, leading to frantic scrambling as the player tries to get as many matches as possible before the next clear while setting up future combos. It was a brilliant basis for a puzzler, regarded as second only to Tetris itself really, but it was the music and visuals working in harmony with the compelling gameplay that transformed Lumines from an addictive time killer to an enthralling experience, and the industry took notice. Here it was, Tetsuya Mizuguchi's dream realized. A game that instilled a sense of synesthesia in the player, one that was a critical and commercial success and put his company, Q Entertainment, on the map. But for all the titanic strengths Lumines possessed, it lacked one last crucial piece of the puzzle. It didn't tell a story, didn't shed light on the human condition, which was something that seemed increasingly on Miz's mind that he'd soon express through his newly formed electronic band, Genki Rockets. Genki Rockets is the brainchild of Tetsuya Mizuguchi and record producer Kenji Tamai, with Rei Yasuda providing the likeness and vocals for virtual frontwoman Lumi, who appears as a holographic projection during live shows, like here when she's with Al Gore.
Thank you!
How do you even describe Lumi? Okay, so the story goes that Lumi was born on the International Space Station on September 11th, 2037. No, that's not a joke. And dreamed of one day being able to visit the Earth. Then, from outer space, she made a pop song so popular with such an inspirational and uplifting message that she was projected back in time to 2006 in order to share that message with our world. And that's just so adorably dumb that I can't help but love it to pieces. That song was Heavenly Star, the music video of which became the first level for the sequel to Lumines and was featured in Suda51's No More Heroes for the Nintendo Wii. Sent from the future, removed from our world and yearning to connect with humanity, Lumi is presented throughout as a sort of spiritual guide, one who walks the path towards enlightenment and is happy to share it with us, if we're only willing to listen. Genki Rockets is not subtle. Described by Miz as universal music, it can be a little cheesy at times, a little corny, a little other food-focused adjectives ending in Y, especially with lyrics like "touch my cheek like a summer breeze," "look through the clouds, there's paradise," and "the future lies in your hands." Say those out loud and they sound ridiculous, but when you sing it out loud, if you shift your perspective just a little bit, rather than cheesy, you could say that Genki Rockets is sincere. Tetsuya Mizuguchi sincerely wanted to communicate to the listener through broad strokes, big emotions, and heartfelt hooks that you are perfect how you are, that we are all connected, and that you control your own fate. In a mystical, magical fantasy land where music is life, love conquers all, and I just...
I want to go to there.
Miz would produce more titles in the following years, such as a couple sequels to Lumines, Every Extend Extra, Gunpei, and 99 Nights, which I've never played. It seems like an outlier in his career, though he speaks very fondly of it in interviews. He also made Meteos for the Nintendo DS with Masahiro Sakurai, he of Super Smash Bros. Fame, which is a really fun little puzzle game that's very much in the style of Lumines, as each level has its own unique theme, sound effects, music, and even rules of play. Rather than eliminate lines by matching colors, Meteos sees groups of tiles rocket up towards the sky, then slowly drift back down to terra firma. The player must continue to match tiles in the hovering stack or shoot tiles from below in a really unique, very satisfying to play puzzler that's seemingly a dead property, and that's a shame. While all of these games continue to strengthen the Q Entertainment brand as a music-forward, sure-bet puzzle factory, except for 99 Nights, none could really be called boundary-breaking Synestia aesthetic experiences. It wasn't until 2011 that Miz would release his next true passion project. Child of Eden, published by Ubisoft and released on the Microsoft Xbox 360 and Sony PlayStation 3, is a pseudo-sequel to Rez and Mizuguchi's most ambitious game up to that point, as Miz and Genki Rockets supplied most of the soundtrack themselves. Miz also took on a much more hands-on approach as the writer-director in addition to the music, rather than his traditional role as producer. Even Lumi stars as the titular Child of Eden, the story concerning her digital reconstruction in the far-off future, but sees her consciousness corrupted in the process. All this on top of the game designed to be played with either the Kinect or PlayStation Move in an effort to immerse the player even further through motion controls as they're tasked with literally freeing Lumi's mind by cleansing it of digital viruses. Rather than destroy, however, bullets recreate Lumi's mindscape, her memories and personality gradually brought back to life and flourishing across the screen in a lovely inversion of typical gameplay conventions. While Lumi's story is a sumptuous audio-visual feast for the senses, it's not exactly conveying a message beyond what's on screen. Genki Rockets may be universal music, but Child of Eden was just too uniquely weird to contain universal truth. Unfortunately, Child of Eden would not only follow in Rez's footsteps through concept and gameplay, but also in sales numbers, which Ubisoft deemed disappointing. In addition, the sheer amount of work Miz took on for Child of Eden, along with the day-to-day responsibilities of running Q Entertainment, left him feeling burnt out and sapped of inspiration. Shortly after Child of Eden's release, Miz left the games industry without any clear plans of returning in the future. Ironically, it was what first attracted Miz to the video game industry that drew him back in, as the technology and affordability of virtual reality became impossible to ignore. At the PlayStation Experience Conference in 2015, Miz announced his return with Rez Infinite, while wearing a trippy Synestia bodysuit, which, again, is just so adorably cheesy, you can't help but share his smile. The suit was just a one-off, however. Rez Infinite was designed with the PlayStation VR headset in mind, as Miz once more strived to get the player as close to Synestia as possible. A new level was added to the remaster, Area X, essentially an all-range mode, to continue the Star Fox analogy.
Crack one boat!
Which took full advantage of the player's ability to freely look and move within a 3D space. It even has a surprise cameo for freaks like me who research Miz's entire career just to talk about one damn game. Developed under the banner of his new studio, Enhanced Games, working with studios Resonair and Monstars, Rez Infinite provided Miz and his collaborators the opportunity to learn the ins and outs of developing a game in VR as a sort of warm-up act while they quietly worked on the main event to follow just 2 years later. Tetris Effect is about nature. Blue whales and stingrays drift across the screen while the earth hangs in the background, surrounded by a literal circle of life. Jellyfish glow in the dark. The leaves of a forest tremble under a storm. Then birds sing as a brilliant sunrise breaks through the clouds. Lotus blossoms float in a pond. Birds fly over the ocean, then the Grand Canyon, and then the globe itself. The frequent use of natural imagery reminds us that while this may be our planet, it doesn't belong to us, that there is beauty all around, but also wonder, majesty, eternity. Tetris Effect is about connection, the street markets of India, the rituals of Bali, a hula dance at sunset, a fireworks display, hot air balloons over New Mexico, the streets of a big city, stretching across a seemingly inhospitable desert to as far as the moon itself, presented one after another, each unique in their particulars but universal in their appeal, to bring people together, to celebrate, to connect. Tetris Effect is about creation, hieroglyphics carved into stone, jewelry made out of natural minerals, the precise symmetrical woodwork of a sun-strewn hut, the inspiring designs of Leonardo da Vinci, an international space station constructed in orbit. Throughout all our collective history, mankind has been driven to create, to form the world around us, to look at the horizon and not only wonder what lies beyond it, but to test the limits of our reach, then take great delight in surpassing it. Tetris Effect is about Tetsuya Mizuguchi himself. It is the realization of a lifelong, career-spanning goal, first made at a street parade in Switzerland, to reach out, touch the player, and leave them changed. It expresses his love of travel, of experiencing the world and its many cultures, yet references otherworldly landscapes from previous games. It even visits the International Space Station, Lumi's birthplace, and features lyrics that are practically lifted whole cloth from a Genki Rockets album. Tetris Effect contains themes that have run throughout Mizuguchi's entire body of work, of human connection, looking for the good in life, believing in your best self, and taking the future in your hands. Tetris Effect is about everything. By taking direct inspiration from Koyaanisqatsi, Tetris Effect uses sights, sounds, and music to carefully construct levels that are breathtaking on their own, but take on much greater significance when viewed as a complete whole. And if you don't believe me when I say it takes its cues from Koyaanisqatsi, consider the level Spirit Canyon that uses Native American imagery and music very reminiscent of Philip Glass. Did you really think I started this essay with a 1982 tone poem just to sound smart? Well, yeah. But also, it's there if you know to look for it. By focusing on images of nature, humanity, and creativity, Tetris Effect is able to play them all against one another to effectively argue that whether it's the smallest single-cell organism to the largest mammal in the sea, we are all connected. We inhabit the same spaces. We are made of the same stardust. All across the world, in cities and on beaches, in temples or beneath a clear blue sky, for worship or for fun, whether you're human or otherwise, we gather and celebrate. We are ever evolving, creatively, technologically, biologically, existence itself a state of constant change, the future always on the horizon, it is coming, it is now. Tetris Effect ends with a pair of celestial mermaids, the game's ultimate symbol of humanity and nature in harmony, beckoning us with the sincerity of a pop song to come follow me. Look at this world we live in. What could you be afraid of? It's a message so powerful, presented so goddamn beautifully, that my heart can barely take it.
What could you be afraid of?
But that's not the reality we live in, is it? After all, Tetris Effect came out in 2018, and a lot's happened since then, hasn't it? Though I believe Tetris Effect to be a perfect distillation of Mizuguchi's entire body of work and the best expression of his personal worldview, it's possible the game's message can come across as a tad bit naive, too optimistic in a society that almost refuses to progress, and a world that's literally on fire. Less relevant than a movie that came out in 1982. It's okay to feel that way. Shit's bleak. But I think Miz feels this way too, which is why I want to close this video out with his latest game, Humanity. Developed by Tha Limited, a design company whose portfolio includes tasteful renditions of public restrooms, Humanity came into being when director Yugo Nakamura asked, "How many digital people can we fit on screen at once?" In 2018, a tech demo made its way to the Unity Festival in Japan, where Miz was on the panel of judges and immediately saw its potential. Not long after, Thaw worked with Enhanced Games to bring Humanity to life. At first glance, Humanity resembles a stylish but simple mix between Lemmings, Inside, and that one room in Super Mario Odyssey, as the player controls a radiant Shiba Inu tasked by glowing computer cores to guide endless parades of people from entrances to exits for reasons unknown, while collecting golden giants called Goldies in the process. The unending streams of people and their MC Escher-like perambulations become oddly hypnotic as they march, climb, jump, swim, float, fall, and drift along to your directions. However, it becomes pretty clear early on that not everyone's gonna make it towards their final destination, either due to mistakes you've made, semi-sick jokes on the part of the developers, or outright wickedness on your own, which feels kinda cathartic. As the puzzles grow in complexity, the humans and Goldies you've saved populate the hub-like gathering grounds, first standing stock still like brain-dead cattle, then moving aimlessly about, then full-on stampeding in swirling patterns. It's not long after that that things take a turn towards the strange. Before we go any further, if you haven't played Humanity and this video's piqued your interest, now's the time to press pause, play it for yourself, and come back later. You should go into the rest of this game as blind as possible, trust me, because it's here when Humanity introduces the Others, a rival faction with a lower polygon count and washed out color palette, visually coded as inferior to the humans you've been sheepdogging the past few hours. The computer core explains that the Others have grown envious of all the Goldies your people have collected. The level objectives now change from not only guiding your humans towards their exits, but also getting to the Goldies before the Others can claim them as their own. With each new level, each triumphant victory or bitter defeat depending on your perspective, the Others grow more and more aggressive, until each stage is practically flooded by their numbers. But when that still doesn't work? Humanity goes to some dark places. Levels explore different variations of combat, from flanking maneuvers to guerrilla tactics to all-out wars of attrition as you slowly gain ground until you rout your enemies. One of the final encounters with the Others is a desperate last stand that sees your defenses crumble until reinforcements arrive at the last possible moment to win the day. It's honestly jaw-dropping just how hard this game goes, but also how far it's come from laying simple directions on the floor. With the Others defeated once and for all, Humanity shifts focus again by changing the setting to a world run by machines, with automatons monitoring humans kept in pens. As you play through this last set of levels, it suggests that this may be a retelling of historical events, as people attempted to develop technology to improve the human race, but ended up enslaved by their own creation. Then, Humanity once more switches genres, now to real-time strategy as you bring the fight to the machines with your own automatons, and it was around this point that I texted my friends, "I bet this game ends with killing God." Which, yeah, it kinda does. While I was initially disappointed Humanity ended with such an obvious video game cliché, I think there's more to the ending than what's just on the surface. Humanity ends with the Shiba Inu and its followers destroying the computer cores that have held them all in thrall, freeing themselves from their digital prison and able to escape back to reality. However, it's the computer cores themselves that wanted humans to succeed. Designed as they were to improve upon humanity, the cores recognized that technology has only held humans back from their true potential. The entire game has been presented as a series of trials created by the computer cores to reteach humanity the knowledge necessary to regain their autonomy. It's only through the trials that they're able to look with clear eyes at where they've been, where we currently are, the cruelty we can direct towards one another, and the differences that cruelty sprouts from. Sometimes those differences may be irreconcilable. People will get hurt. There is no progress without protest. There is no change without crisis. But not all others are the enemy, and some may even be our salvation. A recurring concept throughout Mizuguchi's body of work is the spirit guide, a seemingly perfect being that promises to guide us to a brighter future if we only just follow them. Eden from Rez, the mermaids in Tetris Effect, Lumi of Genki Rockets, the Shiba Inu from Humanity. And while it's easy to view those beings as otherworldly or godlike, apart from and above the human race, I don't think that's actually what Tetsuya Mizuguchi wants to communicate. After humanity's all said and done, the radiant Shiba Inu is revealed to be no more than a regular human, no different from any of the many thousands they guided towards the light. The Shiba Inu, the mermaids, Lumi, they're presented as spirit guides, but in actuality, they're not above us. They are us. We are them. We can show ourselves the way. Humanity may be more pessimistic than Tetris Effect or Child of Eden or the music of Genki Rockets, but Tetsuya Mizuguchi's message remains the same as it ever was. Deep down, we are the same. We are connected. We have the capacity to lift each other up towards a brighter future than hold one another down. But we can only do so once we are honest about ourselves. Only after we take in the full scope of humanity. Only then will we be capable of sounding our barbaric yawp over the roofs of the world and walk towards that brighter future together. What could you be afraid of?
Nothing could measure the kind of strength inside.